And so here, the next part is what I think is the most interesting part. And this is what we kind of call a nested selection in D3. And so for each film flower, we have a different number of petal path elements depending on the data for that movie. So to be able to dynamically we again have our parent group selection up here, and we say take that selection of groups, and within each group we want to array of objects, because remember again, at the end of the day, data needs to have an array to know how many data elements, which is currently empty. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say, we're going to pass in a function, and that function will be passed in the data that's been bound on that parent group element. So you can see that here. We'll pass that data in, and we can use that data to say, okay, so this first group element, the data says the number of petals is 5. So we can say d.num petals. And this underscore times is a kind of utility function that I use really often with Lodash. And this underscore times just says whatever the number is passed in here, create an array of that length. In this case, a length of the number of petals, and within the array, return whatever is, and the array should have whatever is returned in this second function. And so, for example, in the first group with our minions data, we have that we're going to create an array of length 5. And within there, what we want is to be able to say, okay, so the first petal, we want to rotate it 0 degrees. And then the second petal, we want to rotate it by we want to rotate it by 360 degrees, divide by whatever the number of petals there are. So then, for example, so that's the index times 360 degrees divided by the number of petals. And what that gives us is this array and what that gives us is the first path will have a rotation of 0, the second path will have a rotation of 75, the third one will have 144, and etc. And for the second group, the data that's been bound is the movie Inception. And in that case, there's a lot more IMDb votes. So the number of petals that we calculated was 9. And so if we invoke this function, this underscore times function on Inception, what we get is an array of length 9. And within it is objects that include a rotation where the first rotation is 0, the second rotation is 40 degrees, the third one is 80 degrees, and so on. And so this will evaluate again to the array of objects, and then we're going to enter append. So what we end up with is a set of 5 paths for minions with the data bound to them, and for this one, a set of 9 paths with the data bound on them. So if we toggle to see the resulting D3 selection, I actually think this is the most interesting part, which is you can see it's an array of 135. So it's an array, so it has 135 movies, so it's an array of 135. But within each of that is an array of 5 or array of 7 or array of 6. So it is, so the structure, it really is kind of a group, a parent element, and then all of the children elements in this nested structure. And you can see that we have the rotation in here, as well as I kind of copy and paste over the parent data. So you can see this one is rotation 72, and the actual, what I'm returning within the dot data is the number of times, and I create a copy. So here what I'm doing is I have a new object and I create a copy of the parent data, and I also add in that rotation to get the data that's been bound to each of our children path elements.